What should we make of Tahaad Pettiford entering the NBA draft?
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We're joined today by Lief Thulin. He's part of Locked On College Basketball, part of NBA Big Board. The guy knows college basketball and especially the NBA draft. Lief, I want to talk about Janai Broom and his draft stock now that, he retired. He finishes his time at Auburn as, I think, the best Auburn Tiger in the history of the program. But let's start with Tahaad Pettiford, just because he announced that he's going to enter the draft and go through the process while maintaining his eligibility. And I'm seeing a lot of differing opinions on this. However, most of the sites that I've seen that have him up have him as like the prospect ranked in like the high 20s or low 30s. How's the NBA going to view Tahaad Pettiford in your mind?
Yeah, I think he's one of the guys that the combine matters most for of the entire NBA draft because he has electrifying skills. He's got the ability to shoot the ball. He's got the ability to shoot the ball off the bounce, which is one of the most difficult skills to master in the NBA and one of the most coveted skills in the NBA. You see guys like Damian Lillard, Steph Curry obviously popularized it, but it's one of the things that defenses can't guard, and now teams are shooting 49 threes like the Celtics do. Guys like Pettiford who could create their own shot off the bounce in a blink of an eye and create for others as that's a potential growth area are going to covet it. Obviously, the flip side. He's very small, and he's not necessarily a defensively oriented player because he's wired to score. So there have been players of his stature that have had good track records, but many more that have not done as well in the NBA. So that's why I think the NBA combine is going to matter for him about as much as anyone in the country.
What does he need to show at the combine? Consistent shooting, that he can defend these other guys that he's going to be playing against? Like, what specifically at the combine does he need to show?
Well, I think shooting well never hurts, but I think
Sure.
playing the point guard position and being a facilitator, able to put pressure on the rim and distribute, play out of the pick and roll. Auburn plays a flex offense, and I think some of the determining factors of where to pass are made simple in Auburn's offense. You pass to Janai Broom once he gets on his preferred block, or you find the guy on the slips. And I'm oversimplifying it, but it is a collegiate offense that is a little more manufactured than ebb and flow offense in the NBA, where you read things and the pick and roll is all on the point guard's shoulders to make the proper designation. Do you hit the roller? Do you hit the guy off a flare on the backside? And I also think workouts. I said the NBA combine, and I do mean the NBA combine itself, but I think workouts will be pivotal for him because a lot of teams will put him through point guard drills to see if he can be a point guard of their future, as opposed to being a Lou Will type who is just a designated scorer that happens to be 6'1" and 175 pounds.
The timing of a guy like Tahaad Pettiford. A lot of the knocks against his game, his height and size, him staying at Auburn another year isn't going to change those things. And then the questions about, him as a defender at the next level. Like, he probably could be a better defender a year from now if he stayed at Auburn, but if an NBA team took him, he'd probably be a better defender a year from now versus if he stayed at college. It's just a different game. You're playing against better people, whatever. The timing of it. Like, does it make more sense for Tahad to go now versus in the future? What's your gut feeling on that?
Yeah, I anticipated you asking that question, but I still don't really have an answer.
Okay.
Tahad is the type of guy where he already said, if he comes back to college, he's playing at Auburn. Auburn's going to pay him properly. Like, that he may, if he's not a first round pick in the top 25, Auburn could compensate him better than the NBA, at least initially. Obviously, the point about Cooper Flagg is, he could make an even amount of money in his first year at Duke, but Cooper Flagg could get a super max, and you just kind of want to maximize your years in the NBA. Tahad, I don't think needs to be in a rush. The question is, does he have faith that Auburn can get back to where they were? That's the second Final Four in Auburn history, I believe. And how frequent of an opportunity is that going to be for Tahaad Pettiford? Because I don't know if you'll be able to demonstrate what you can do at the highest level as frequently as he was able to, playing in Janai Broom's shadow and playing very well in it. So my gut is he comes back. I don't know why,
Yeah.
but I think he comes back because he's going to be asked to play point guard, do all these things, and then Auburn's going to say, "Hey, here's $2 million, Tahad. If you're a second-round pick, just come back and we'll make you an All-American." And that's the pitch I think that allures to Tahaad Pettiford. Now that said, if the team makes a promise, and I don't know about that, then that changes the equation, of course.
What does a second round pick make, Leaf? Do you know that on the top of your head?
I don't. It really depends. The team and the pick. Picks like 30 through 35 are compensated pretty similarly to those picked 25 through 30,
Okay.
but there are different extensions. So your contract doesn't renew at the same time, and you can get extended sooner. It's actually something that Gilbert Arenas popularized, and why he made more money sooner than most second round picks.
Interesting. Got it. Do you think if you were an NBA GM, do you think Tahaad Pettiford right now in this year's draft is worth a first round pick?
He'd be right at the border for me. So I actually released my first big board, and I had Tahad right outside of the first round because I just think there's guys in today's NBA that are more coveted for length and strength. And there's a lot of collegiate players that you watch and you're familiar with. And I say, oh, Tahaad Pettiford's better than them. But then you factor in a lot of the international players, and age is very important to these international players who they're playing professional. Their stats don't look all that stunning. So you look at a big board and say, oh, he's got better stats than a lot of these guys. That's the pitch, though. Bilal Coulibaly propitiated himself into the top 7 by playing well in a playoff situation, and everyone's coveting length, strength, and dynamic athleticism. And you're seeing guys that aren't necessarily good shooters thrive right now, like Amen Thompson, but everyone else is looking for shooting. So Tahaad Pettiford's got a chance. So it really just depends on the team. I'd say he's more likely to be picked 30 through 35 than 25 through 30. Okay. But I mean, that's a very, very thin margin if you're an Auburn fan banking on Tahaad Pettiford coming back.
Yeah, sure. What's the point guard strength of this class look like? I mean, is this a point guard heavy class? I know there's a lot of talk about, the high end picks like with Cooper Flag and all of that, but what's the point guard situation look like in this class?
Yeah, I think Dylan Harper is certainly the standout, and he'll be by number 2. I think Jeremiah Fears of Oklahoma, another SEC product, is likely in the top 10. You look at those two as the torchbearers. Nolan Traore, a French guy, has been in the scope of the NBA for a long time in the draft regard. He's had a little bit of a poor shooting season, but he's likely a top 15, top 20 pick. And then I think the next point guard you really look at is Cam Jones. If you count him as a point guard, he played point guard for Marquette this season, but I would say he's more of a 2 guard in the NBA. Yegor Demon just committed to entering the draft, and that was a big one, saying most people, I'm from Utah. A lot of people in Utah believed he was coming back to BYU, so that was a bit of a shocker. Yegor's probably the next one. And then you get to the guys like Tyrese Proctor, LeBaron Philon, and Tahaad Pettiford rounding out the end of the first round or early second round.
All right, so Leaf's gut reaction is Tahad returns to Auburn. I agree. But what does the NBA think about Janai Broom? That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for skilled trades. Of course, that is Supply House, whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical. Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. And if you need help with an order from Supply House, their experts offer support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's at supplyhouse.com. Lief Thulin, our NBA draft expert, hanging out with us for a few more minutes today. Janai Broom has had differing opinions on him from a draft standpoint all year. Leaf. And I mean, sometimes I would pull up an NBA mock draft and he'd be not anywhere in the first or in the 2 rounds. And then other times I'd see him as a late first round pick. The ones I'm reading this week have him pretty much as a second rounder. Where are you with your opinion of Janai Broom?
Yeah, I could see him being in the first round. I personally would have him in the second round. I think there's something to be said for age, because I'm not one who says, oh, you have to be super young to be taken super early. But I do think for someone who relies on physicality and strength as much as Janai Broom, as opposed to, wow, that's some potential trait in terms of size, vertical jumping, and all that, that his strength is probably his greatest asset. And you watch him play, and the teams who have requisite length were able to bother him because of the lack of lift. And so I know in the NBA he's not going to be the scoring type, but you do have to take into account that the athletes are better and stronger in the NBA, so he'll look a little less dominant. And so I think for Auburn fans, there's the context, right? There's going to be guys that are super athletic and just as strong now. And so you may not see him being a guy who catches on the block much. He's going to be more of a distributing big, somebody who rebounds and his defensive presence. And I think some of the athletic lack of pop is probably what brings him down to the second round. But I think there could be a team that believes, look, this guy's had a super high usage rate. He's a great passer. He's got great hands, rebounds, everything in sight. We'll take him at 28 and try to put him on a winning team. That's very possible. I personally would have him in the early second round, though.
Yeah. What do you think he is positionally at the NBA? I mean, he played the 4 and the 5 at Auburn. This is really the first year where they moved him to the 4 because of, I mean, it sounds like part of that discussion was to help his NBA draft stock. Do you think that worked at all? Like, what is he at the NBA level?
I think he's a 5 man. I think in the NBA, it's so valuable to be able to shoot at least at 4 spots. And I know Janai Broom made plenty of threes this year, but he's not a shooter by NBA standard. And so he'll be playing the 5. And though he may appear undersized in terms of some of the measurables, he's got huge hands. He's able to rebound. I'm not worried about that part of the game. It's more about how well does he rim protect without someone like Dylan Cardwell also occupying the lane, because in collegiate basketball, there's no 3 in the key. And if you play 2 bigs, the analytics say, hey, you shoot more times because you'll get offensive rebounds by playing 2 bigs that crash the glass. And defensively, you're going to secure more rebounds because you're going to have 2 bigs defending the glass. It seems like a really smart thing. The NBA is about space and pace. So I think there will be an adjustment. And I think Janai Broom can learn and do so, because of what I was very impressed with by him, even at Morehead State, is he's very malleable. You put him in different situations and he learns how to thrive in them. And at Auburn, like I said, he was excellent, and he was able to distribute the ball from the block. He was able to score. He was able to step out and improve every step. I just don't think someone who shoots as rigidly, I guess the word I'd use, it's a very forced set shot. You wouldn't put him as the floor facing 4. I think he is your 5 man, but you surround him with long wings, and I think it's very feasible that he can do a good job in that situation.
Yeah, all that makes a ton of sense. Lief Thulin, how can people check out everything that you've got going on?
Well, my Twitter's right there. Oh, it's just name Leif Thulin. The first letter of each last name are capitalized. A lot of thoughts there. Tweet out my big boards and my collegiate bass takes on there. So that's probably just listen to Locked On College. I hop on there with Isaac and Andy, and Locked On NBA board if you want to hear stuff about Tahaad Pettiford and Janai Broom. I'm on there with plenty of.
Yep. No, you do fantastic work, and hopefully we'll have you on again before the NBA draft. So be sure to support Lief Thulin and his work. Please like the video. Please subscribe. And if you're tuned in on audio, please leave us a review and subscribe on whatever app you're tuning in on. Helps the show out a ton. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.